Hi guys! Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Syahirah binti Abdul Aris and I'm from Center for Foundation Studies, International Islamic University Malaysia. So guys, I will be talking about being friend to another sex is fine as long as you follow the guidelines and not against the Islamic law. So guys, as we know, we as Muslims have to follow the guidelines that had been fixed by Sharia so that we are not doing such sins that are highly against Islamic law. So, the main point is, first of all, how does Islam view the interaction between different sects? In Islam, the basic principle of the interaction between men and women is segregation. This means that in all areas of life, in all places, whether private or public, contact between men and women is generally prohibited. Many evidence establish the principle of not mixing between the sexes, and there are many ahadith which clarify that this is the case in both public and private areas. Abu Dawud narrated the following ahadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, "The best row for men is the front row, furthest from woman's row, and the best row for women is the back row, and the worst is the front row, just behind the man." The Prophet ﷺ saw men and women outside the mosque moving side by side in the crowd. He stopped the woman, saying, "It is not proper for you to walk in the middle of path. You had better walk along the walls." This means that Muslims should avoid contact with members of opposite sex, whether Muslim or not, as a general rule. However, there are exceptions to this general rule where the mixing or interaction between men and women is permitted in certain situations. For example, it is permitted for men and women who are mahram to each other to mix freely for any purpose that Islam permits. What is mahram? Mahram is the person that we cannot marry. For example, our brother, our uncle. So, as well, there are certain areas where it is permitted for non-mahram men and women to interact with each other, such as for the purpose of da'wah, which is invitation to Islam. However, the type of mixing that can occur here is not free. It is restricted by the Sharia to be within guidelines and boundaries, and the Muslim must sure to understand this before type of mixing takes place. The ahkam or rules to do with mixing also vary with regard to the kind of place in which the mixing occurs. In an Islamic society, there are two types of areas where men and women come into contact with each other, which are quite different in their descriptions and in the rules which related to them. The nature of the interaction between people in them may involve the mixing among men, among women, and between men and women. These are the public areas, which is this consists of areas where everybody can be present without permission. Example, mosques, streets, and so on. Next, the private areas. These are areas where permission is required to enter them, such as houses. In such areas, it is forbidden to enter without permission or even to look inside. A place which is considered a house and upon which the rules of the private life apply is the one no one from outside is allowed to enter it, except with a permission. In such place, the woman has special rules to which the term of private life was given. This applies to that known as house or home. It was compared it by analogy the places that are close to public. Example, in those areas which nobody is allowed to enter unless he had a special permission. However, if those areas can be seen by people outside of to the public, then they are considered public places. Similarly, the places open to the public wherever anybody has an inquiry or a transaction can enter. Such offices are not subject to the rules of the private life. Islam defined rules and laws which regulate the relationships between men and women in each of these spheres. Second, the private life. In what situation men and women are allowed to interact? This concerns the conduct of people when they are in private areas. Here, the principle is that mixing between unrelated, non-mahram men and women is forbidden as a general rule. However, the Sharia gives permit for mixing to occur under certain special circumstances. In all these cases, a woman cannot be in khalwa or seclusion with another man alone. These areas include, first area is medicine. It is allowed for men and women to meet for the purpose of seeking medical treatment. Second area is da'wah. It is allowed for men and women to be present in the same class if the purpose of their meeting is learning about Islam or other types of education permitted by the Sharia. The sister of Umar radiallahu was being taught from the Quran by Khabab ibn Arad radiallahu with her husband when Umar entered upon them. It has been narrated that Salama and Aisha radiallahu who used to do da'wah to men and women. Third area is marriage. If a man is looking to marry a woman, then he is allowed to talk to her about issues related to finding out about her and related to the marriage. A man came to the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to ask her about marrying a girl, and the Prophet told him to go and see her. But remember guys, see her in her mahram's presence. Fourth area is duress and compulsion. At time of absolute necessity or emergency, such as earthquake, war, hurricanes, the necessary mixing is permitted for men and women in order to remove any danger or threat. Five areas is state arrest. The evidence for this is from Uthman and Umar. When they entered a house to arrest someone with their army, there was ijma of Sahaba on this. They said to women in the house, cover yourself, we are entering. The seventh area is silaturahim, maintaining the relationship between kin and kin. It is allowed for non-mahram relatives to sit with their non-mahram people to whom marriage is permitted for the sake of silaturahim, as long as it is without khalwa, which is privacy. There exists a number of hadith concerning a keeping of good relations with the relatives. The third main point is the public life, which circumstance different gender are allowed to engage. This concerns the conduct of people when they are in the public areas. Here again, the principle is that mixing between unrelated, non-mahram, men and women is forbidden as a general rule. However, the Sharia gives permit for mixing in the sense of presence in the same area to occur under a certain under a certain special circumstance. In all these cases, it is not a condition that a woman has a mahram in her presence. The areas can be broadly categorized to include the first areas is Hajj. Second areas is trade or hiring. This includes markets or shops, buying, selling, hiring, borrowing, and lending. The third area is work. If the nature of the work means that one needs to meet, then there is a permit. Works here involve looking for work, for example, interviews. The fourth area is everyday life affairs. This involves the unavoidable interaction between men and women in areas like streets, markets, restaurants, and so on. But there is a special case within the public life. There are private places upon which the rules of private life apply, such as houses. There are public places upon which the rules of the public life apply, such as the markets. There are public places public places with special rules like separating men from women, such as the mosque and attending the public talks at lecture theatres and the like, which are compared by analogy. So, in the market, it is not a condition that men separated from women during trading, but in the mosque and the lecture hall, the separation of men and women is a condition. The Messenger Muhammad SAW used to address men and women in the mosque in Medina, men in front and women behind. Similarly, in the hospitals, the sections of men should be separated from the sections of women. In all these cases where men and women are present at the same time, there must not be free mixing, where both sexes are mingling with each other. The general rule is that any contact between members of the opposite sex is minimized as much as possible. So any contact between members of the opposite sex must be necessary to the business and at hand. Thus, in Islamic states, for example, in the trains or buses, there would be separated areas for men and women. In any case, the activities which are occurring must be halal in nature. Accordingly, mixing between non-mahram men and women for the purpose of amusement, leisure activities or entertaining is strictly prohibited. Thus, issues such as boyfriend or girlfriend relationships, dating, or enjoying leisure and company with unrelated women is haram. However, Islam does see these types of activities as acceptable, but only when regulated within the framework of marriage. The last and the fourth main point is modesty and lowering the gaze is important during interacting. Part of the provision of maintaining the dignity and honor of men and women in Islam is in the regulation of the way they are regarded by each other. It is forbidden for the Muslim man to look at any woman with lustful intentions, except for his wife. The same is true for a Muslim woman with regard to other men. Rather, the emphasis is on lowering the gaze away from the members of the opposite sex at times when they are present, like in the streets or the marketplace. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, say to the believing men that they should lower their gaze and guard their modesty. That will make for greater purity for them. And Allah is well acquainted with all that they do. and say to the believing woman that they should lower their gaze and guard their modesty. This reflects the principle that the way that Muslims, men and women, view each other is completely different to the way of the West, where women are seen as sex objects, and respect of both men and women in this context is almost non-existent. Indeed, if it does exist at all, the criteria upon which it is based mainly concerns the superficial physical attributes. So guys, we had discussed all the main point and we have examined in which situation we are allowed to mingle with another gender. So here, being friend to another sex is not prohibited in Islam, but it depends in the situation. But guys, bear in mind that free mixing is not allowed. Free mixing is not allowed unless or without the presence of mahram. Unless you have mahram with you, so it doesn't matter if you want to mixing around with different gender. So guys, I thought it would be good idea to look at some of the many benefits we can derive from being friends to another sex by following the guidelines that are fixed by Sharia. The benefits are fulfill an obligation upon us. For example, as Muslim, we are required to follow Amar Ma'ruf Nahi Munkar, which is doing good deeds and forbidding bad. Next, you will find yourself leading a happy life. Also, strengthen your faith and relationship with Allah the Almighty. You also will continue to achieve good deeds after you have passed away if you're doing things that follow the guidelines and not against the Islamic law. Lastly, help your cause against the questioning in the hereafter. That are the benefits to be achieved from being friends to another sex by following the Sharia. Lastly, remember that being friend to another sex is not prohibited in Islam, but it depends on the situation. We should interact with different sex only on a very important matter. And remember, when we are with different sex, we should lower our gaze, since it is stated in Holy Quran. And we can't deny that man or woman is needed in certain times. So that's all from me. I'd like to say a million thanks to all my friends that helped me through the process of making this video, and a special thanks to Madam Adiba for giving me this opportunity. And for those who had watched this video, please click the like button because I really need it for my marks. That's all from me, guys. Thank you again. Assalamualaikum.